Welcome and hello from Alex, with a story from r/Am I the Bad Guy, where a roommate questions the appropriateness of going braless at home when her roommate's boyfriend is around, leading to a heated debate over boundaries and comfort levels. Coming up next is a story from Weekly Cut 5857. Am I the bad guy for refusing to wear a bra when my roomie's boyfriend stays over? I don't wear bra at home. I go to college, then library, and then work, then gym. I am out at 7 a.m. and back at 10 p.m. Usually I take a quick shower when I get home, then make a snack and just relax for an hour before bedtime. On weekends, I barely leave the apartment beside the occasional outing with friends or colleagues. My roommate and I are very close, but now she has been biting my head off about me not wearing a bra at home. I was confused. Then she explained that it was about her boyfriend. I laughed in her face and told her to put a bra on his eyes instead. She got very upset, but I told her that I wasn't interested in her boyfriend. Not in the slightest. She got offended and said that he wasn't interested in me either, so I said, then why are we arguing? It is only an issue if we were interested in each other. Tell him next time he sees me braless, he can pretend that I am a wall. According to her, it wasn't about interest but being invasive, and he felt uncomfortable. Would you think that it was fine if he showed his D? I called her stupid because I was in my home. I wouldn't go braless in his home, and if he chose to go naked in his home, the only right I have is to get the H out of there. She called me the Am I? Opie is not the bad guy. In this scenario, Opie's refusal to wear a bra in their own home doesn't make them the bad guy. It's their personal choice and comfort level, especially considering their busy schedule and the fact that they spend most of their time at home. While their roommate may have concerns about her boyfriend's comfort, it's ultimately Opie's prerogative to dress as they please in their own space. Opie's response, while perhaps blunt, emphasizes the point that their attire is not about romantic interest and that they have the right to feel comfortable in their own home. The analogy regarding privacy boundaries is also valid. Overall, Opie's stance seems reasonable, making them not the bad guy in this situation. Coming up next is a story from Merc35802. Would I be the asshole for asking a family to remove their child's death memorial from my property? I recently purchased a home on a country road. 5 years ago, some drunk local teenagers wrapped their car around a tree on the property and one died. Their family created a roadside memorial with a 4-foot cross and wooden sign. People come a few times a year and place flowers, notes, etc. The memorial is on my property in front of the tree they hit, about 10 feet from the road. I don't want to see this memorial every day. It's depressing and reminds me that a tragedy happened here, which I don't need. I am trying to get over some stuff. I want this home to be a fresh, clean start. But I am also sensitive to the kids' family and friends' feelings. Would I be the asshole if I asked the family to take down the memorial? Opie is not the bad guy. In this situation, Opie's desire to remove the memorial from their property doesn't make them the bad guy. It's understandable that they want to move forward and create a fresh start in their new home, especially if they're dealing with personal issues. However, the family and friends of the deceased child may also be grieving and finding solace in maintaining the memorial. It's a delicate situation where both parties' feelings need to be considered. Opie's request to remove the memorial could be handled sensitively and respectfully, perhaps by explaining their reasons and offering to help relocate it to a nearby public space. Ultimately, it's about finding a solution that respects both Opie's need for closure and the grieving process of the deceased child's loved ones. Coming up next is a story from Hall Known. Am I the bad guy for telling my sister I am not the golden child? I just wasn't a pain in the ass. My sister is a goddamn mess. She was a lot growing up, and each week some issue would appear. It could be as simple as a tantrum, or mom, dad getting a call from the school. I am short, she was a lot. Not to mention therapy for her basically drained the family dry. I was giving more freedom since my parents trusted me. I could go to mall by myself and they knew they wouldn't get a call from security about stealing. That happened before. So they trusted me and gave me more freedom to do stuff. I have literally watched her get a chance to prove our parents can trust her and then fuck it up. Our relationship isn't good. My dad gave me his old car for my last year of college. I need it for an internship. My sister made a comment that of course the golden child gets a car. I snapped and told her I am not the golden child, I just wasn't a pain in the ass. That the family has drained themselves dry for her multiple times and to keep her mouth shut. She called me a jerk and ran to her room. Opie is not the bad guy. In this situation, Opie's frustration with their sister's behavior and their response to her comment about being the golden child is understandable. Opie acknowledges that they were given more freedom and trust by their parents because they demonstrated responsibility, not because they were favored as the golden child. Opie's outburst was likely fueled by years of dealing with their sister's issues and the strain it put on their family. While Opie's words may have been harsh, they were a reaction to the hurtful comment made by their sister. Overall, Opie's actions don't make them the bad guy in this scenario. Rather, it's a reflection of the strained relationship and pent-up frustration between siblings. Coming up next is a story from this value 4194, and if you like the video so far, don't forget to like the video. It only takes a second and helps me out a lot. Am I the bad guy for telling my friend not to come if she's bringing her kid? One of my, nearly 30, friends put together a get-together at a restaurant for my birthday. The place has a bar where we're going to be hanging out. The plan was to get a bit tipsy and order appetizers. My husband and I have a 3-year-old, but we're hiring a babysitter for the night. We rented out a private room with a bar. My other friend, Missy, has a 5-year-old daughter. She mentioned she was going to bring her. I offered to pay my babysitter extra to watch her daughter. Missy said no because her daughter is in daycare all day and she doesn't want her to have to then be with a sitter. I said I understand, but I don't think it's appropriate for her to come. 1. I know our group. We're going to get rowdy and I don't want to censor myself. 2. Missy's daughter is like a lot of 5-year-olds. She doesn't sit still, wants to run over the place. Missy admits she doesn't bring her out to restaurants much because she doesn't know how to act. But I also know Missy will just sort of let her as she's very permissive. I spoke to my friend who put it together and said I don't want any kids there. There's a reason I got a sitter for my own kid. That friend agreed and told Missy not to bring her daughter. Missy has now thrown a fit and said she's not coming. I said I completely understand. There are events I have missed because I don't want to leave my daughter, and the group understands as we all have kids. I told Missy I'd be glad to have a play date, lunch another time with our kids so we can still hang out. I told Missy I can't stop her from coming to the restaurant, but we absolutely will not allow her to come into the private room. She's very hurt that we're excluding her. Am I the bad guy for not wanting a kid at my party and telling my friend she can't come if she brings her? Also, if it's relevant, Missy didn't pay for the rented room. 2 of my other friends did as a gift to me. So, it's not as if I am telling her she can't come to something she paid for. Opie is not the bad guy. In this situation, Opie's decision not to want children at their birthday gathering, especially in a setting where they plan to relax and have drinks, is entirely reasonable. Opie took the initiative to hire a babysitter for their own child, showing consideration for the event's atmosphere and attendees. Missy's insistence on bringing her young daughter despite Opie's concerns about the appropriateness of the setting and the child's behavior is where the conflict arises. Additionally, since Opie's friends rented the private room as a gift, they have the right to set the parameters for the event, including the guest list. Opie's offer to arrange a separate play date or lunch to spend time with Missy and her daughter demonstrates a willingness to compromise and maintain the friendship. Overall, Opie's actions seem reasonable and considerate, making them not the bad guy in this scenario. Coming up next is a story from That Lavishness 5376. Am I the bad guy for accidentally being fatphobic? I, 21 female, hosted a birthday dinner for my best friend, Anna, 22 female, the other day. I invited all her close friends, made the cake, made a ton of food I knew everyone could enjoy, and decorated the place with all her favorite things. I was exhausted, and honestly all that cooking kinda killed my appetite. So when everyone was eating, I only had a couple things before putting my plate away. One of the friends, let's call her Sarah, noticed and asked what was wrong. I told her I just don't have that much of an appetite, but please don't stop on my account. I made all this food, so enjoy to your heart's content. She didn't say anything, just nodded and walked off. Then we moved on to games and everyone had a blast, until it was time to cut the cake. The cake was delicious and people were gobbling it up, as they should because it was amazing. I only took a few bites of cake before putting it away and Sarah once again walked up to me. She talked about how good the cake was and how everyone was downing it. I laughed and told her I was super happy everyone was enjoying it and I wish I could down my piece like everyone else, but I just finished a whole bottle of Mexican Coke earlier, so a few bites were all I could stomach right now. She went off on me. She started yelling at me about how I shouldn't have called her fat. I don't think I did though. And that I should be ashamed of making people feel guilty about eating. Anna came over trying to calm Sarah down because now everyone was staring and wondering what was happening. I tried to reach out to Sarah in an attempt to defuse the nuclear war I inadvertently started, but she stomped off. Anna looked at me confused and I just shrugged before telling everyone to continue as they were. The party eventually kicked back off. I tried to text Sarah to come back and apologize, but she just left me on read. Now, a few days later, Anna's friends refused to talk to me. Sarah has spread the word that I am fatphobic and everyone is eating it up. I know I am not as close to them as Anna is, but it still hurts that they seem to believe Sarah so easily without attempting to understand the whole situation. My best friend tried to explain to them it was a simple miscommunication, but no one seems to be listening. The only thing that will apparently help the situation is a full-blown apology from me in person to Sarah. Sarah's words to my friend, "But I really don't think I did anything wrong. So Reddit, please weigh in, I am so confused." Opie is not the bad guy. Sarah is the bad guy. In this situation, Opie's actions were not intentionally fatphobic. Opie simply mentioned their own lack of appetite due to having consumed a large drink earlier, which had nothing to do with Sarah's eating habits or body size. Sarah's overreaction and subsequent accusation of fatphobia seem unwarranted and unfair. Opie's attempts to apologize and defuse the situation demonstrate a willingness to resolve misunderstandings, whereas Sarah's refusal to engage in dialogue and her spreading of rumors paint her as the antagonist in this scenario. It's unfortunate that Opie's genuine efforts to make amends are being disregarded, and the insistence on a public apology from Opie seems disproportionate given the circumstances. Coming up next is a story from Beginning Jaguar 9693. Am I the bad guy for refusing to share my huge inheritance with my step-siblings? So I, 17 male, found out only a few weeks ago that my dad left me a lot of money in a trust. Like, it's such a crazy amount that I didn't really believe it at first. But it's true. The reason is my dad had inherited from both his parents already. He also inherited from the only 2 uncles he had as well, and one of them was very successful and had a business. This was all explained in a letter my dad wrote to me. He had the trust set up before he came into most of the money, but when he found out his cancer was incurable, he decided to put it all aside for me once all medical bills were paid off for him. My parents were separated but not legally divorced when my dad was sick, died. But they weren't living together or a couple for a year. This was 10 years ago. My mom found out about the money because she read the letter he sent to me about the issue. Then she insisted she was joining me to meet with the lawyer to discuss this. When my mom learned about the money, she told her husband, and suddenly the money became a very touchy subject. I can't touch it until I am 19 with the way my dad set it up. So I have some time to deal with this, but my mom and her husband want me to share the money with my step-siblings, 14, 8, and 7. The money is enough where even if I pay for college and buy a house I would have money left. The way the trust works, I was told it's also getting interest, which my dad had intentionally set up. My mom and her husband have struggled financially for years. They started dating when his youngest kid was 1. His wife had died. He was going through a legal battle with the mother of his oldest, and his oldest is in therapy for trauma caused by their mom. Also, his youngest was born with some medical issues and has lots of doctor appointments. Between everything, money was tight. We live paycheck to paycheck, and I worked to make my own life a little more comfortable. But we had no college savings or anything before this. My mom and her husband drained their own bank account to keep a roof over our heads. This has all been brought up to me as a good reason why I should do this. My mom told me it was selfish for Dad to put it all away solely for my future, and he should have been thinking about raising me as well. She told me I might not call her husband Dad or his kids my siblings, but we are a family, and that this family has been through so much together and we have struggled for so long that it would be so good and generous for me to do this. I told her it's not like I can access the money now. She said no, but when I do, I should set up accounts for my 3 step-siblings so they have a better chance at college, and if not college, the chance to have a help start in life. Despite all their trying to talk me into it, I said no. I told them I wasn't going to share the money. My mom was so mad, but it was nothing compared to how mad her husband was. They told me to quit being selfish and start acting with compassion. Am I the bad guy? Opie is not the bad guy. The stepmother and her husband are the bad guy. Opie's decision to refuse sharing the inheritance with their step-siblings is understandable given the circumstances. The inheritance was specifically designated for Opie by their late father, who had carefully planned it to secure Opie's future. It's unfair for the stepmother and her husband to pressure Opie into sharing the inheritance, especially considering the sacrifices Opie's father made to accumulate it. While the stepmother may argue that they are a family and should share, it's important to respect Opie's father's wishes and intentions. Opie's refusal to share the inheritance does not make them the bad guy. Rather, it demonstrates their commitment to honoring their father's legacy and securing their own future. That wraps up r/Am I the Bad Guy? If you enjoyed this content, make sure to visit my Spotify channel. Link is in the description, so you can listen to the best Reddit story while being outside, and remember to hit that subscribe button.